In this video we're going to be talking about the Windows 98 control panel, and there's a few ways to get access to it. We can click once to select My Computer and right click it, select Open, and we see that we've got the control panel here, and this is a good way to access any kind of system files and change any particular system settings. We're also able to access the control panel from Start, Settings, Control Panel, and it opens up the exact same window that we were just looking at. And we see here that we've got a number of icons and a whole bunch of options, 22 icons here for the different options that are available to control the Windows 98 operating system. The first one is the accessibility options. And what this does is this assists if you've got some problems using the computer. We've got the first one is sticky keys. And what this one does, if you're not able to maybe press all three keys at once, if you want to press Control Alt Delete, and you're only able to press one key at a time, then if you enable the sticky keys and select Apply, what it's going to do, where it shows up a little icon here in the bottom right hand corner that says the sticky keys is now enabled. And remember before we were talking about the keyboard shortcuts. So now if I want to maybe open up the Start menu, instead of having to press Control Escape at the same time, I can simply press Control, and we hear that it makes a little bit of a sound, and Escape. So it takes out the option of having to press them both at the same time. We can press them in sequence now, pressing one after another. We've got filter keys. So this is your keystrokes if we want to ignore brief or repeated keystrokes. And we've got the settings here. We're able to click and type here to test the key filter settings. So we can see as we're typing, we're able to test it, and it's right now it's ignoring repeated keystrokes. And when we go to settings, we're able to adjust the different time between the repeated keystrokes. So now if I hold the N key down, earlier as we saw it just puts a whole bunch of N's. Now it's about 2 seconds in between each N as it's adding them. And we can see here in the test area how this is going to work. So this is a good thing to add maybe if you're holding keys down for too long and you find you're having them repeated, then maybe you can adjust the keystrokes. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. Here we've got the beep when keys are pressed and accepted, and we've got show the filter key status on screen. And we've got the toggle keys. So when we press any one of the toggle keys, we can hear different sounds, and we can adjust the settings for that. From the accessibility options, we're also able to adjust how sound is played, the display, the contrast of the display, how your mouse is going to react. We can adjust the settings here of the pointer speed. We've got the top speed where we can see how it's moving faster. There's acceleration from slow to fast. This is not to be confused with the mouse settings that we're going to talk about later. And then we've just got general settings where we're able to turn off accessibility feature after idle, notification, and the serial key devices. So I'll go ahead and cancel that. The next icon that we're going to be looking at is the add new hardware. If you've added in some hardware and maybe it wasn't plug and play or you didn't have the proper driver at the time, plug and play, what that is, it automatically detects and configures the driver for the particular device. Most devices are plug and play, so this would be maybe if you've installed a new modem or something into your computer, you've plugged it into the proper sockets, and you turn on your computer and it would automatically detect it if it was a plug and play device. So we can select this also if we want to search for any particular device that maybe hasn't been detected yet. We can see this as when we look at the device manager, we can see that these four particular devices are unknown to the computer right now. That it hasn't received the proper driver, and what the driver does, it just translates commands so the computer can understand what the device needs to do. And it automatically detects that there's four devices that are missing drivers. And here, if we had the particular disk, if we had the disk for this particular unknown device or the USB device, if we had the installation disk for it, we could go ahead and select it, and we could go ahead and we could try to install that particular device. We could reinstall the driver, and we've got the driver update, which we can also do. So it's just a quick way to add particular hardware into your system. We've got to remove programs, which unless the program itself, unless it's got an automatic uninstall, this is definitely the best way to uninstall particular programs that are set up in your system. So here we've got all of the programs that are listed that we're able to add, remove. If we want to remove a particular program, we could select it and then select the add remove button. If we've got a program or an app, piece of software that we want to install on our system, we would simply go to add remove programs and we would select install. And what this does is it's going to ask us where we're going to be installing it from. It's searching actually right now the floppy drives and the disk drives to see which programs are available, and then we would be able, if it doesn't pop up here automatically, we're able to select browse, and from browse we would be able to go through all the different programs that we have available and install any particular program that we wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. We've got an option here for Windows setup, and what this does is when you've installed your Windows operating system, not all features have been activated and not all components have been activated. So it's going to quickly search through our file system to see which components we have included already in our operating system, and we're going to be able to check and uncheck particular components that we want to install and uninstall. So here we see that we've got these are the particular components. When it's shaded, it means that part of it will only be installed, so it hasn't been completely installed, and we can see what's been installed and what hasn't been installed. We're able to get a quick description here when we look down here at the bottom of what this particular component does, and we're able to have even more details if we needed to by selecting the details. So this is a way, if you've got some particular information, some components on the Windows disk that hasn't been installed during your operating system installation and you want to install it, or on the other hand, if you want to uninstall it, we can install and uninstall these particular components. We can see here that part of it has been installed. It tells us how many. 4 out of 9 components are selected. That means that the other 5 is already installed, so we can uninstall or we can install. If we want to create a startup disk, generally it's a good idea to make a startup disk. And what a startup disk is, it's simply one floppy disk that you need to insert into your computer system, and then you select create disk, and it creates a disk that is bootable. And what that means is that if you've got a problem with your operating system, if your operating system crashes, gets uninstalled for whatever reason, and you turn on your computer system to start your computer, you can boot up your computer system to the DOS prompt with this startup disk, and you're able to also run some diagnostic programs if it's able to find the Windows 98 operating system. If you've got completely uninstalled the Windows 98 operating system, you will be able to get to the particular prompts that you need. You will be able to access fdisk and the command.com menu. Most computer systems by default are set from their BIOS to automatically start to check if there's a disk in the A drive and to start up the system from there. Depending on how the configuration of your BIOS is set, is what you would be using the startup disk for. If you want to boot your system from the startup disk, you would simply insert the startup disk, turn your computer on, and it should be able to boot from it. If not, you would change your BIOS configuration to boot from the startup disk. The next icon that we're going to talk about is the date and time. Now this one is similar to what we looked at earlier when we right-clicked the time here, where we're able to simply select the particular date or time that we want, and then simply select the time zone and select apply. So this is the exact same thing that we looked at earlier when we were making our adjustments on our time. So apply, and we see that the settings take place. The display, we can access this by double clicking. Once again, what I'm doing, I'm just double clicking twice with the left mouse key, and we see here that we've got a bunch of options for display properties. This is what we talked about earlier. We also access this particular menu the same way, from right clicking on our desktop and selecting properties, and it opens up our display properties menu. So once again, there's two ways to open the exact same thing. Here we're able to adjust the background of our desktop depending on how we want it. If we want to put our own particular document or picture on there, we're able to browse and select that particular picture in order to display it. And then we've got also the display if we want to center it, if we want to tile it, or if we want to stretch it. So stretching takes a particular image and enlarges it across the entire screen. We've got our selection for our screensavers, where we've got, by default, we've got a whole bunch of different screensavers. We've got the settings, and we're able to preview it if we wanted to. We're able to have the amount of time that the computer is going to take, the inactive time. So right now I've got it set to 13 minutes. If I didn't touch the computer for 13 minutes, this particular screensaver would automatically show up. We've got our energy savings features here, so we can adjust our different power schemes. We've got currently we've got the power scheme home, office, desk, and here we've got that the monitor turns off after 15 minutes and the hard disk turn off after 30 minutes of inactivity. So if you're not touching your computer, the monitor will automatically turn off after 15 minutes as a power saving feature. We can adjust the appearance of how our windows will appear. We've got the standard view, and we've got a whole bunch of different options here. This will actually change our entire Windows, the way it will look. We've got, just going to go ahead and I'm going to change it back to the Windows standard. We've got the effects, that we can see the different icons, the visual effects here. We've got the web, how we see our web pages, and how the desktop as, if we want to view the desktop as a web page, we would do so here, and we could select new and create that. And then of course we've got the settings that we looked at earlier for the monitor, where we're able to adjust the screen size and we're able to adjust the colors. We see here the particular adapter, the video adapter that our computer is using to configure the monitor's display, and we see, depending on what the limitations of the adapter are what the limitations of your setting will be. So if this adapter, maybe it's an older adapter and it might only have a 640 by 48 pixel display with 16 colors, you won't have the options to have the other different sizes and the different colors. And then to apply it, we would simply press apply. So I'll go ahead and cancel that and open up the control panel again. The next icon that we see is the fonts, and here we can see a quick listing of all the different kinds of fonts that are installed on our system currently. These fonts are generally by default across all the programs that will accept them. So it doesn't matter if you're using Windows Office, or if you're using some kind of paint shop or something like that application. you'll generally see the same fonts applied across all the applications. If you want to install new fonts on the internet, there's thousands and thousands of free fonts that are available for your selection. So what you would do, you would simply go to the internet, to the particular website, find the particular font that you want, download the file, and what we're going to see that all of the files are TFF files, and we've got a few here that are FON files. So these are acceptable formats for fonts, and what you would simply do, you would download that particular font file, and then you would go to File here, and you would go to Install a New Font, and you would search the folder where you've installed the new font onto. So if you've downloaded a new font, you would be able to maybe, I've downloaded one here earlier, and we can see that this is the particular font that I downloaded. It's called Flatbush, and it's got all the different particular types. So I'm just going to select all of them, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to install them. So now what's happened now is this particular font has been installed on my system, and it's going to be available across all the different applications that are able to use it. And here we've got, we're able to open, we're able to select properties, we can see when these fonts were created and downloaded. We can see that we've also got the work offline once again because we're in the Windows Explorer, so in case we're connected to a network. The same edit here as we've got copy, cut and paste. We're able to toggle our view here, our view settings, and we've got once again the favorites, the help, and all the standard options here that are available for most Windows. The next one is game controllers, and what this simply does, if you've got some game controllers that are installed on your system, or if you want to add some, and if you want to configure them, this is exactly where you would be doing so. We've got our internet options, and we can open this up. This is the same thing when you open up your Internet Explorer, what we talked about earlier. When you select from your tools here, Internet Options, you've got the identical window and the identical way to maneuver through it. The next one is keyboard, and this will configure our keyboard configuration. Here we've got a little bit about what we saw before in the accessibility options, where we're able to have repeat rate, slow or fast, and we're able to test it here. And we've also got the cursor, slow or fast, how fast it will blink or how slow it will blink. And we've got the different languages. So if you want to install different languages, if your keyboard was not a standard keyboard from the US, you had a different kind of keyboard with a different language, you want to install it here, you would be able to do so here. And then of course once it's installed, you're able to switch between the different languages, you're able to see the properties. And the next one is the modems, and this what we talked about earlier. It's how you modulator and demodulator, and if I want to install a new modem, I could do so from here. The team is adding in new hardware, and we could detect it, and then we would just go ahead with the installation process. So right now what it's doing, it's going to look for the modem, and once it finds it, it's going to give us an option to select next, and then we could go ahead with the installation of the modem. Just going to go ahead and cancel this. And the next one is mouse, and what this is once again similar to what we looked at in the accessibility features. We're able to change the button configuration. What you're probably used to is the right-handed configuration. There's also a left-handed configuration which switches what the mouse buttons will do. You can see here that the left button, what it does was select, and it also drags. To drag any one of the windows, able to right click onto the button, or if you're using a right click mouse here, you could right click on the button and simply drag the window to wherever you want it, holding it down, dragging to wherever you want it. We see that the right button, what that does, it does a special drag, and we're able to see that it's got the move, and here we're able to move it in this sort of way. And we've got a context menu also on the right button. So these are the little context menus that I've been opening up. We've got the double click speed, where we're able to adjust and we're able to test our area here for the double click. And let's slow it down a little bit here, and we see that this is the click speed that we're using currently right now. We can always test it out. There's pointers if we want to adjust the kind of pointer that we're using. Instead of having this particular arrow, if I want to have this one here, I could, or just the hand, I could do so and select apply. And what this will do, this will change my icon from the hand, from the arrow to the hand. And we're also able to, it's going to switch it back to the normal select. So when selecting, it's going to make it into the hand. We've got the motion, the pointer speed to be fast. We've got a slower motion, and we've got the tail, the trailing of the mouse. So we can see when we move it along, if we were to apply it, we would be able to have a trailing of the mouse as it moves across the screen. Just going to go ahead and I'm going to cancel that. If we want to change any of the settings for the multimedia devices, we would select here the multimedia, open up this window, and we can see here that we've got audio, video, MIDI, CD music, and devices. Currently we've got, for playback, we've got our advanced sound device, which plays through the speakers that I have connected to the computer. And for recording, I've got a USB microphone. And we're able to adjust our different videos, how it's going to play in the window, its original size or full screen. The MIDI, which we're able to configure the different instruments here, the different output here, and able to add new instruments into it. For the CD music, we've got the configuration, how the music will play, the music volume. We'll put a CD into our CD player, how it's going to be played. And of course we've got our different devices that we're able to select and configure as we need to. We can open it up, we can select it, and we can see the different properties that are involved when configuring it. And we're able to see the status that the driver's enable and active. That's where we're able to hear sound through our computer system. That plays out through our speakers. If we were to remove this particular device, then our speakers would no longer function. The next icon is the network. If your computer is connected to a network, your network configuration is important here. We can see here we've got our standard network configurations here, the TCP/IP, which is important for you to connect through the network. We've got our dial-up adapter here, and we've got the client for Microsoft Networks and the Microsoft Family login. We've got the identification, the computer's name. We're able to adjust that here. If we're changing different work groups, we've got the work group name and the computer description. And we've got access control, so the different control that we're able to get through for the accessing it. If we want to enable file and print sharing, if we're connected to a network, we want to enable this computer to be able to share files across the network. You have to install the particular file and print sharing component. So we would be able to configure it this way here, because we've got it installed and we are able to give access to files and printers. The next one is the ODBC data sources, and this is used for database connectivity. ODBC stands for Open Database Connectivity, and if you've got different database queries that you want accessed or if you're using like a Microsoft Access or any other SQL database, you would need to configure all the particular information that you have here for the particular database. Usually you could do it under the system DSN, and then you would just add it, or if you want to, if you already had it added, you could configure it. Next, we've got passwords, where we're able to install different passwords and keys onto the system. We're able to change the Windows password, and if we had other passwords, we would be able to configure them here. We've got the user profiles. And we've got simply a choice whether all users use the same preference and desktop settings, or if we want each user that connects to this computer to have, through the network, to have different desktop settings that they were able to configure, then we would select down here. But currently I believe we just have the one user set up, so that's why all the users are using the same desktop settings. We've got power management here, which is similar to what we looked at earlier, where we're able to have the different power schemes, and we're able to adjust the power schemes as we needed to. We've got once again the standby time. The monitor turns off after 15 minutes, and the hard disk turn off after 30 minutes of inactivity. And we've got the same information as we had earlier here. We've got printers to configure our different printers. So if we had some printers installed, it would open up a window and show all the different printers that are available for us. So currently I don't have any printers installed on the system that are being recognized, so I will have to go ahead and add a printer, which is just similar to installing any piece of hardware, where you would select add printer and you would just go through the printer wizard, where you could select the different printer, a local printer or network printer. If the printer is attached to your computer, it's a local printer. If the computer is somewhere on your computer network, it's a network printer. So a local printer, then you're just simply asked to select the particular driver and make your selection of the particular driver as you, depending on which printer it is. If you don't see your particular printer in this list, this is a default list from the Windows 98 operating system. If you've got the driver to your printer, you could simply just enter have disk, and then you would have to point to where the location of the disk is, and from there you could install the printer's driver. If you don't have it, if you've lost it, the best chance is to go to the internet, and if it's a Xerox printer, go to the Xerox website, and from there try to download the particular printer driver. But in order to get your printer working, you do need to have the particular driver. And if you had more than one printer, they would show up there. If you had your system set up as to be able to fax out from your modem, then that would also show up in your printer configuration. Next, we've got regional settings, and this is once again dates and times that you're able to set. So here we've got English United States is my regional setting, the way that my numbers are going to be displayed in the system, the currency that I'm going to be using, the time, how it's going to look, and we've got the date of the default dates, the short date styles, the separators, and the long date styles. So these are just some default ways how it's going to be displayed. We've got for sounds, we've got the different sounds that are available. Right now these are the sounds that are installed on the system. If we wanted to change the close program, right now we don't have anything for close program, but if we wanted to, we could install a different sound. We could go to browse, I could have this notify as the particular sound, and that it would make that sound when I close the program. I could select apply and OK, and we see that as soon as the program closes, that particular sound is being activated. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go back to having nothing there. or if we had a particular sound scheme that we want to load in, we're able to search for it and we're able to save it as. So currently right now we just have a Windows default scheme. I'm just going to go to cancel and I'm going to apply having nothing for the closed program, and when we close the program there is no sound. The next icon that we see available to us is the system icon, and this gives us some general system information. It gives us our options for the device manager, hardware profiles, and performance. So this tells me exactly the operating system, where it's registered, the computer. I've got my device manager, and as we were looking at before when we were installing the hardware, we could see that these four particular devices did not have their drivers installed properly, and we could see that Windows shows us with a question mark that these are unknown devices and that we should configure the drivers for it. Device Manager is a great way to kind of go through your system and see what's installed and what's not installed. If you having some problems with any particular device, you'd be able to see it here. If you wanted to, you could remove it. If it's a plug-and-play device, when you turn your computer on, it will reinstall the particular driver. If you've done some changes, you can refresh it, or once again you can see the properties quickly, or you can print it. So, or we can have the devices by connection, and we can see how everything is connected to the computer and how the devices have been connected. And if we've got some unknown devices, we're able to kind of go through them and maybe see that, okay, this particular device, it's in this area, and we can kind of from there decide what the particular device it is that the computer is not able to see. We've got hardware profiles, where we've got the different profiles for the hardware, and we've just got it under original configuration. We can copy it and we can rename it. We've got performance. We see the performance of the system. We've got some advanced settings here where we're able to adjust the file system. And we've got hard disk, floppy, CD. We've got the removal disk, and we've got just basic troubleshooting. So if we've had some problems here and we want to do some troubleshooting, then we would be able to do that here. We've got our graphics setting full for the hardware acceleration. We've got our virtual memory here, and here we're able to specify the size of the virtual memory, but it's always better just to let Windows manage my virtual memory settings and let the Windows operating system deal with that, unless I have some particular reason for trying to adjust my virtual memory settings. So I'll go ahead and cancel that. Next one is Telephony, and this is for telephone drivers and dialing properties. And currently I don't have a modem installed, but if we did, we'd be able to adjust its settings, that we're able to adjust what area code we're in and how to dial from tone dialing to pulse dialing, and the number to dial if there's an outside line. So if your computer set to maybe a system in your office and you want to dial out, always have to press 9, then this is the place to set it. So this is just a simple place to kind of enter in some information for your dialing properties. Right now it's just asking me to specify a particular area. That's because I've made some changes, and now it's just going to ask me for the dialing properties. I've got area code rules, and it's going to open up to this other window where I've got to enter in some more information once I'm entering in, if I've entered in any information. I've got my drivers here that I've got to configure if I need to. If I've got to install particular drivers for the phone system, then I would have to do that there. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel. And the last one is users. And in users is where you would adjust your user settings. So what we're going to do here, we're going to enable the different users. We've got one user already enabled, the default user when the operating system is installed. And now we're just, if we want to create a temporary user,
We would have to enter in the user's name, temp, and we would have to enter in a simple password for that user to follow. Could be any password that we want. Select next, and then we're able to personalize either the desktop or the start menu, the folders option, depending on how we want to configure this particular user's environment, and finish. So what it's doing, it's creating a bunch of user files. So we're going to be able to log on the system as this new user. So in order to use this new user, what we would have to do, we would have to restart Windows, and it would set up the new user account. So I'm not going to do that particularly right now. Or if we already had the user configured, we could go to Start. We could go to Log Off this particular user's discovery, the default one, and I could go to log on to temp. But I'm not going to log off of that right now. And that's how you would be able to switch between users in the Windows 98 environment.